founder of that school. The school is doing quite well. I'm also the founder of an organization called Certified Herbal Health Practitioner. The ring that I wear is the same symbol as the emblem that you see here. This is an organization that we have that will keep people in the herbal loop. And I was the dean at the Pedestal University. This is an independent university in the city of Detroit. I can go on and on. Recently, I was exposed to a higher level of nutrition through my wife, Dr. Abdur-Rahmaan, Khadijah Abdur-Rahmaan, who is a raw food chef and a naturopathic doctor. And most of my information that I have been getting lately has been through her research. I want you to know that the body doesn't have the ability to create an illness. Okay? Not in 100 years, not in 1,000 years. The body does not have the ability to create an illness. It will never, ever happen. You can't make it happen. I can't make it happen. The body will not create an illness. When you come down with a condition, that's your creation. That is what you have done. Whether knowingly or unknowingly, you created it. And I want you to know if you can create it, you can uncreate it. Dr. Watkins has always said if you can create a condition, you can uncreate a condition. People just don't know. They don't understand that. And any time you're going to the pharmaceutical industry to remedy a condition, that's double indemnity. Because you can't get well taking dope. That's number one. You can't get well using drugs. Okay? And every time you take a dose of any medication, I'm talking about from a bare aspirin to Coumadin. Anytime you take a dose of any pharmaceutical med, you are taking an overdose. You are OD'd. Just hasn't become fatal yet. There's other things that have to come before it becomes fatal, and this is called side effects and after effects. You have to get them first. And then once you continue to take the dose, then it becomes fatal. Sometimes it can take 6 years. Sometimes it can take 2 hours. Sometimes it can take 20 years. But every dose you take is an OD. Some people don't believe that. I said, well, I don't believe that. I said, well, you haven't studied the body's anatomy. If you don't believe that the medication you take is an OD, you haven't studied anatomy. Anytime something goes in that body, the body either accepts it or rejects it. If it is good for the body accepts it. If it is bad for the body, the liver tries to snatch it out. That's the liver's job. I want you to remember something. All poison heads to the liver to be neutralized. The liver's job is to extract the poison out of the body. But the pharmaceutical industry and those who write scripts, they know how much to give you based on body mass. If you're 100 pounds, they're going to give you so much. If you're 200 pounds, they'll give you a little more because they know that the liver is there waiting to snatch that poison out of the body. But it's coming so quick that the liver can't keep up. So some will seep into the bloodstream. And when it begins to seep into the bloodstream, it begins to suppress the symptom. Doesn't fix anything at all. So your head may be hurting. You take some med and the head stops hurting. That's no more than pulling out the oil out of your car when it goes on. Just snatch it out, it don't come on anymore. Head hurt, take some dope, and it begins to numb. And you think it's gone. Still there. The thing is, the liver is trying to snatch it out, and as the liver begins to snatch it out, you begin to play systemology with yourself. You think you got over the headache, but you're creating another condition. So where's the benefit? There's no benefit there. But people begin to believe what they can touch and see, not what they feel. What they touch, what they see, what they hear. They have lost the living spirit. No more living spirit. I don't believe in this because I can't see it going on. But Doc has gave me a medication. And it's so powerful it begins to numb the body. They only do three things. They cut it out, they burn it out, or they poison it. And then you're stuck with all of these side effects. So I want you to know that no medication will cure anything. It only compounds the frustration, the functions of the body. So if you want to get well, you have to find some other alternative. Good alternative. Alternatives like what God has spoken about in probably the book that you read. I've given you every herb bearing seed to you should use for food. Now when you got on planet Earth, everything was already in place. Is that right? Everything was, you were last in creation. Fish were here before you. Bees were here before you. The plant life was here before you. And as my wife had explained to me one day, she said, Dr. Dawud, I don't read nowhere in no book where it says God created the stove. Everything God created was good. Everything. And then he gave us a prescription. See, the basis on a happy society is human goodness, right? Right. That's the basis of building a happy society, human goodness. And plants are submissive. The herb is submissive. You can't make a burdock root imitate an echinacea. You cannot take vinca, they call it periwinkle, this herb vinca, and make it act like chaparral. Alfalfa grows 125 at least feet deep. And it will pull up trace elements. Say, come here, sodium. Come here, magnesium. You can't take it off of its course. And the human being was instructed to eat that from planet Earth. And in eating the food from planet Earth, we will become as submissive as the earth. But we've gone astray because someone has interfered with our taste buds. And when people begin to play with your taste buds, you lose it. Yes. They make it sweeter or they make it a little more salty. And then the position you take is that I want a greater sensation. See, man, he wants to, the most important thing about anything is the nature of a thing. And if I can corrupt your nature, I got you. If I can corrupt your nature, if I can make you think a little different, I got you. Now, how do I do that? I do that by what I give you to eat. Put a little more high fructose corn syrup in it. Put a little more silicon dioxide in it. All these preservatives. There's no enzymes in processed food. It wouldn't make sense. Because it wouldn't be processed if there were enzymes. So we're eating dead food and you have the dead living. Dead food creates the living dead. So we have road rage today. We can't think. Quicksand mind. And why people get sick. I want you to know that there's only 2 dosages of a med that you can take. One is called an effective dose where it will begin to suppress the symptom. The other one is called lethal. But they're both an overdose. And people know that once you come into your true self, you can't be orchestrated anymore. People don't want to know the real truth about getting well. They want to take a magic pill. They don't want that responsibility on them. Well, I didn't know. Dr. Johnson had me take this. No, it's your fault. Because when you walked in Dr. Johnson's office, you should have looked at his plant life. And if his plants were dying, then you get up out of it. Because he only has to give the plants water, sunshine, and free. Right? And if he don't take a little time to water his plants to give them some sunshine, what makes you think he's going to take time to take care of you? It's basic, fundamental. People want to snatch your light. They want to take your halo from you. Because if they take your halo from you, there's not too many people walking around that you can refuel yourself. You need to make some deposits in your energy bank. And you're trying to find somebody to get some good energy from. And they're not out here like they were years ago. I came through a time where I just happened to get a good sister. So we've been married 42 years. And over 42 years, I understand now. I know that there's not too many good ones out here. You have to be careful who you let in your circle. Is that right? Yeah. You do, yeah, because you know the hardship of bringing some people in your order. Sometimes you stand next to a person and you say, I don't like the way I feel. I don't like something about this. So you back up, right? You can feel it, can't you? Sometimes you just can't look at a person all the time and tell where they're coming from. Sometimes you have to feel it. Is that right? All right, well, that has a lot to do with getting well. It has a lot to do with that. We can talk about herbs all day. I can give you 100 herbs. But it don't mean anything if we can't come here. We have to touch the heart. And let me show you something. The main reason why people get sick is because they let the wrong people in their circle. 80% of illness, and I know Dr. Terry King has explained this to you. 80% of all illness is emotional. There's only 20% that is physical. That's right. Don't you know what it would do if I walked up to a person in my office and said, you have cancer? I've just looked at the blood and you have cancer. What do you think that would do? Their heart would drop to the floor. But if I walked back out there and said, oh, I made a mistake, you don't have cancer. Just a little arthritis, a little joint problem. They get better. Yeah. So the ideal is to put a little fear in you. See, doctors study a word called suggestion. That's in Stetman's medical dictionary. It's called suggestion. What does it mean? It means to implant an idea in your mind. And then watch you become the subject matter. Now, if you don't buy that, there's another word that they have incorporated. And I always say to myself, why are they studying words like this? Why do they study words like suggestion? they plant an ideal in your mind. And then there's another word that they study if you don't buy it. It's called autosuggestion. Yes, they have a word, autosuggestion. What does that mean? Because some people want a second opinion. Some people are not going to go off the first diagnosis that they get. Autosuggestion means to reiterate what was previously received by the first doctor. And so there, at that point, you become the new act or ideals representing the first suggestion all over it. Don't you know that if a person had cancer and survived, they never had it? Yes. Dr. Campbell Douglas' book, the drug theory book. It's not even allowed in the United States. He's one of the foremost authorities on cancer. And he has said, if you know anyone with cancer and has survived, they never had it. Because you cannot go through the medical system and cure cancer. It will never happen. You have to have guinea pigs. You have to have people who think they got cancer. Everybody has cancer, but our immune system is keeping it at bay. But this is what's happening. Now, if you know someone with cancer, there's a remedy for that. We have a remedy for that. But they died from the fear. The fear. My sister had colon cancer. She had it for years. But she didn't go down until the doctor told her she had it. Yeah. Now, the reason people get sick, we said that they let the wrong people in their circle, right? Is that right? Yeah. Let me share something with you that you may know, you may not know. You have three kinds of people that you must watch out for. Okay? You have three kinds of people you have to be on the lookout. And they're called hitchhikers. Go ahead. Freeloaders. Come on. Come on. And foot draggers. Hitchhikers. Hitchhikers, freeloaders, and foot draggers. Foot draggers. Yeah, you must be on the watch out for these kinds of people. I'm telling you what I know. Let's identify. See, a hitchhiker, he want to go from spot A to spot B. May take you out your way. You know, sister, you going my way, can we work together? Can you drop me off? Just need you to drop. And while she's dropping me off, do you mind stopping at the store where I can pick up? And you say, well, sure, I'm stopping for the store. And now I'm taking care of my business on your time. You're just a good joke, see, because I read you. But when you get home, your husband is there and dinner's not ready. So you encounter some, what we call some emotional trauma. So, sweetheart, you know, I've been here for an hour. Why had to take down? Well, yeah, but you married me. Unnecessary trauma, right? Emotional trauma. That's a hitchhiker. They're going about their business, but you are left stuck with some drama that you don't need. Freeloader, that's the hitchhiker, right? Freeloader wants to go without any expense of their own. Sister, I really like what you have on. It complements your complexion. You are sharp. You have $5 I can borrow till tomorrow. I'll bring it back for lunch tomorrow. And she loaned me money for lunch. And when I get back the next day, she don't bring any lunch money. Because she know I owe her $5. But something along the way happened. You know, you always get a song. I wish I had it. I don't have money to get it. Now she can't eat lunch. Or she has to go borrow $5 from somebody else. And that day for paying her back never comes. And she said, the brother, no, he owed me. Why don't he pay me my money? That's a freeloader. Don't want to come up with any expense of their own. So she's left with some emotional trauma. And the worst one of all, the worst of all, is the foot drag. See, because a foot dragger will make you think that they want what you want, just to bring you down. Hey, what's happening, brother? Assalamu alaikum. Kefala, alhamdulillah. And we get to talking. And he looks successful. I want what he got. Or I don't want him to have what I don't have. See? And he gives me a little of his time. And when I get to the breaking point of breaking him, I go right back to those I was running with. See, I told you he wasn't about nothing. Just like us. Faith. See, hitchhiker, freeloader, and foot dragger. You have to keep them out of your circle. You must keep them. See, anytime you bring your heaven in someone else's hell, they're going to see that your heaven becomes a hell. Okay? People don't want you living in a 4-story home and they living on ground floor. Get with those who got it going on like you and create peace there. We haven't been exposed to a humane way of living. So you have to watch out for those coming on because they're trying to snatch your life. And when they snatch your life, you have to look around hard for somewhere else to refuel yourself with the energy that they took from you. And you can't do it that readily. So now you got all this emotional trauma on you. From the hitchhiker, from the freeloader, from the foot dragger, right? Emotional trauma, right? Because sometimes you have to live with that for weeks, sometimes months. And now, as that emotional trauma begins to haunt you, you have a cigarette every now and then. You don't have a habit, you just want a cigarette every now and then with that emotional trauma, okay? And every now and then you want a piece of steak you eat. Maybe some chicken, maybe some pork. And you take that and couple that with about 2 or 3 hours sleep a night. And maybe a drink on the weekend. Right? You know what they serve in this month? A little Hennessy and eggnog. And a little Pepsi every now and then. Get you a Pepsi. And some dehydration. Maybe you're not drinking adequate amounts of water. And I want you to know something. That all biochemical reactions of the cells in your body take place in water. That's right. And by the way, since we're on water, let me tell you something. I had plenty of doctors come up to me when I'm out of town. I said, Doc, you know why people take medication? I said, why? He said, they don't drink enough water. If they drank water, they would never have to take medication. Because all biochemical reactions of the cells in your body take place in water. So now these people got all this emotional stress going on, and they started to couple it with all these other things, like not drinking enough water, like high fructose corn syrup, like steak, like chicken, like pork, like turkey, like duck. All of this acid. Cigarettes, drink. And then you walk outside your front door and get ready to go to work and smell that polluted air. You will get sick. That's the truth about getting sick. Now, since you created that illness, let's uncreate it. Let's uncreate the illness. Because people don't think they have a habit. They don't even know that they're addicted. See? It came in as a habit, but they're addicted. They don't know it. Just look at people and watch what they put in their body. And watch what they don't put in their bodies. And you'll find out who you're dealing with. You'll find out. And when you start seeing things go in that's not conducive to a healthy life, then you know what's happening. Let me show you something. I do a lot of blood cell analysis. I have clients come to see me, and in my class, one young lady was talking about muscle testing. And she said, well, I muscle test an individual, and they were tested weak for a particular extract. I said, well, how did you do that? She said, I had them hold the extract in their hand, and I had them hold their hand out, and I tried to feel the resistance. And if the resistance is strong, I know they need it. If the resistance is weak, they don't need it. That's spiritual, Dr. Dawud. I said, is that right? I know a lot of people, good people, that muscle test. I said, is that spiritual? Let me show you a higher form of spirit. It's spiritual to them because they can see and they can feel and touch, and they know it's there, right? They know. But from everything that I've studied spirit, you can't see it. Wouldn't it be nice to walk in a room and look at an individual? Look at it. And say, you might ask a few questions. But you say, brother, get over that hardship. Some things begging you, get over it. You live your life. Don't let someone make you act the way they want you to act. You become boss of yourself and take a little milk thistle for the liver. Wouldn't that be nice to be able to look at a person and see some things that you can tell them without going through a bunch of changes? I have never tested an individual, muscle tested, never. And I see a lot of people, and I have never muscle tested one. I sit down and I talk with them. See, we've gotten away from the human touch. People want you to put your feet in a tub and soak it in water and let you see some debris and say it's the lymphatic system. No one wants to read anymore. No one wants to touch and question and look. They want a machine to do it for them. We believe that we should go back to basics. Talking. Well, these people, when they come see me, I do a visual assessment. I look at how they look. I look at body mass. I look at skin complexion. I look at if there's any darkness under the eyes. I look at the sclera in the eyes to see if it's white. I may look at fingernails to see if there's ridges, poor assimilation. But last but not least, I look at spirit. I look at that individual and try to determine a spirit. Because if you can digest, you can get back into the game of life. People get sick from what they digest or what they don't digest. And if we can have better digestion and better assimilation, we can get back onto the road of health. You can eat the best food in the world. That only calls for chewing and swallowing. Understand that. People have ate what they wanted to eat for years, and it wasn't the best food. And then they changed their regimen. They say, you know what? I'm going to start taking care of myself. I'm going to eat better. And they eat better for 2 or 3 weeks, and I ask them, I said, what are you eating for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? And they name off some beautiful food. And I say, how long have you been doing that? A week? See, because this is no more than a monitor of what's going on inside the body. This is no more than a monitor of what's happening inside the body. And if you deprive the body will deprive you. Some people are having 1 elimination every 3 days. And I say, 1 elimination? Is it formed? Is it formed? What are you talking about, Doc? Is it formed? Don't be afraid to get down to basics. with an individual because they like carrying you on a trip? Is it a turd? Oh, it's sometimes it's formed. Yeah. Well, stool shouldn't be formed. It should be unformed. When I was in North Carolina, they were teaching that stool should be somewhere between the bend in your elbow and the bend in your wrist. And it should be in diameter about a quarter. And it should come very quick, should have no odor and float on water. Some of that was true. Stool should be unformed. Okay? No form, like horse manure. It should float on water. There should be no odor. If there's an odor, it's been in you too long. Like broccoli. When you put it in the refrigerator and forget about it, you go back, that broccoli has an odor, it's been in there too long. So when food that you eat, when it come out, if it has an odor, it has been in you too long. And if it is formed, constipation is there. You are constipated. And it just depends on the severity of the constipation. It should float on water and it should come very quick. Some people have an elimination every 3 and 4 days. One. And I asked them, I said, how many times do you eat? Well, Monday I ate 3 times. So she ate 3 meals Monday, right? And we said, this is in meals. And this is bow. And she said, Monday I had 3 meals. Doc, you had 3 meals, and this is a real case. You had 3 meals Monday. How many times did you eliminate? She said, well, if I go on what's been happening, 1 time. I said, 1, okay. Give me, what did you eat? How many meals did you eat yesterday? Yesterday, 3 meals. Did you have an elimination? No, I didn't. That's Tuesday. Wednesday, how many meals? Wednesday, she ate 3 meals. Did she have any elimination? No, she didn't. I think 2 of these days out of the week, she had 4 meals because she stopped at some fast food restaurant. Thursday, 4 meals, 1 elimination. Friday, 3 meals, 1 elimination. Saturday, 4 meals, no elimination. And Sunday, 3 meals, I think 1 elimination. That's the scenario of how it went. And I said, how long have your habits been like that? She said, it's been like that for a while. I said, let me show you something. 3, 6, 9, 13, 16, 20, 23 meals in a week, right? That you took in. 1, 2, you let out 4. So you got 19 held back. That's just for this week. And if your regimen has been like this for a while, in 2 weeks with this scenario, she's taken in 46 meals in 2 weeks. And she's let out 8. In a month, 92 meals. And she's let out 16. We are dying because of slow but progressive damage to the cells in our body. And when you get like that, you don't drink much water. Because then you begin to sabotage the meal. People who are constipated don't like to drink a lot of water because they rehydrate the fecal matter in the intestinal tract. Think of dried, hard, cruddy bread. And then you put some water on that bread. The bread holds on to the water, right? Well, they become full. They become bloated. And they become the belch. They don't want that. They want to sit down and enjoy their dinner. But she's taking in 92 meals in a month and only let out 16. That should tell us something, right? That should tell us something about digestion, and that should tell us something about the food that we eat. Because it doesn't matter what you put in your body. If you can't get good assimilation, you ain't got nothing going on. Let's establish that right now. You can eat the best food in the world. That only calls for chewing, masticating, swallowing. Takes about a second to go across the throat, 14 seconds to go down the esophagus, and it's in the stomach region. And if you don't have some good enzymes production of hydrochloric acid, you ain't got nothing going on. You just have some undigested food in the stomach. And you're going to have to overwork these organs to try to get some sort of complete digestion going on. Well, if you don't chew your food well, this food in the stomach region, it is too big to be recognized as food or to be assimilated through the intestinal villi. You have little air particles in the intestinal area. They're called villi. And they suck up nutrients. And these nutrients get into the bloodstream by intestinal villi. Now, you can't get a chunk of meat to go through some intestinal villi. So this meat sat there. And it continues to sit, and it gets hard. It gets hard, and it gets compacted, and it begins to get pushed on down through what we call a pyloric valve. Pyloric valve is on the bottom of the stomach. Most of your nutrients are absorbed into the bloodstream in the first 12 inches of the small intestine called duodenum. But if you're not chewing your food well, you don't get that absorption. And if you're not getting absorption, how can you get assimilation? Assimilation means putting it to good use. If you can't get good absorption, how in the world are you going to get assimilation? How are these minerals, these nutrients, going to get to different body parts, different organs, if they're not even being absorbed to the bloodstream? Your heart becomes nourished, your thyroid becomes nourished, your lungs become nourished, your pancreas becomes nourished, your ovaries become nourished by bloodstream, getting nutrients into the blood, and this blood traveling to all of these different organs. That's how they're nourished. Not simply because you ate something good. That don't mean anything. Because you ate something that was good. I had a guy telling me, he said, drink some noni juice. And I gave it to my mother. He said he gave it to his mother. I said, well, you had real noni juice? He said, got some good noni juice. I said, if you taste noni, if you really taste noni, you would like it. Because noni juice don't taste good. And when you're taking something for bodily function, you don't care how it tastes. You want it to work if it's good. See, they got us on taste. Remember I told you they're either going to destroy your taste buds. And if they destroy your taste buds, you're going to lose a friend or gain one. If they can make it salty or sweet, they got you. Then they come with all these drinks. And all of them taste good. See what I'm saying? Oh, if this is going to do this, and this tastes good. Yeah, I'll take this. And they drink it. And they think they got it going on. You can give an alcoholic some beer, and he may be sick and might get a little better from the hot side. So if you got something in there, just something that will give a bodily function, enhance a bodily function, yeah, you might get some sort of little stimulation there, but it won't last long. Let me, I'm going to draw a graph out on the board. I'm going to show you something. Wipe this off. Don't get like this. You want a bowel movement every time you eat. Or, if you really want to be on top of your game, and you're eating 3 meals a day, you want 5 bowel movements. Why? You want a bowel movement when you get up in the morning. You want a bowel movement when you retire at night, when you go to bed. And you want one after each meal. One upon retiring at night, one upon rising in the morning, and one after each meal. Now, if you're not eating 3 meals, then you want a bowel movement after every meal. You want a bowel movement after every meal that you eat. That's the safe way about it. See, when you eat food, when that food gets to the duodenum, and the nutrients are absorbed, and let's say you're eating the right food, you have no problem. I give my students a sandwich bag, and I slice a banana, and I say, put it in the sandwich bag and put it on your counter. And then I slice an apple, and I put that in the sandwich bag, and I say, put that on your counter. And then I take a piece of steak, good steak. You know, they got some steaks they call good steak, right? The good stuff that's supposed to be good. And I take a piece of that, and I put that in a plastic bag. And I say, put that on your counter. And come back to me in about 30 days or so. And let me know what happened. And each one of them have come back and they said, Doc, guess what? I said, what? They said the apple became applesauce. They said the banana became mushy, banana sauce. I said, what happened to the steak? They said, it's still there, Doc. It's just hot. Still there. Just hot. I said, well, do this. Take that mushy apple and take that mushy banana and put a little water on it. Just get you a little 4 or 5 ounces of water and put on it. And then take that steak and put some water on that. And I said, what happened? She said, I just got what looks like to be apple juice. What about the banana? Just banana juice. Or what about the steak? It got bigger, Doc. It got bigger. Don't you know that's what happens inside your intestinal tract? That's the very same thing that goes on when food enters the body. You can swallow an apple, and in time that apple will digest itself because it has digestive enzymes. You can swallow a chunk of a banana, and in time it will digest itself because it has digestive enzymes. But swallow that steak. Swallow that steak. And then watch what happens. It will still be there. What happens is when food works down the intestinal tract and get to what we call the beginning of the colon. They call it, it's a little muscle called ileocecal valve. The cecum is the bottom part of the colon. The cecum. I don't know if you can see this picture here, but this, the appendix, this is the cecum, the bottom part of the large intestine. There's a muscle that opens up and allows the byproduct to be dumped off into the colon. Now, when this material is dumped off into the colon, guess what happens? Something happens. What happens is this. The same thing that keeps you on planet Earth, it has to work up against gravity. So this steak, this church's chicken, this good duck, has to work up against gravity, and gravity is what keeps you on planet Earth. So the peristaltic action begins to weaken. Food moves through the gastrointestinal tract by way of what we call peristaltic action. And this rippling motion is what allows food to work its way through the intestinal tract and up and over and down. See, this food has to go up the ascending colon, it has to come across the transverse and down the descending colon. And if it is not the right kind of food, it will get jammed up in what we call the cecum. Not the cecum, the sigmoid. Sorry. The sigmoid. It will get jammed up in the sigmoid. Most of your colon cancer starts at the beginning of the ascending colon. This is food that now it has to be pushed up. See, the apple has broken itself down. The banana, the strawberries, the grapefruit, all of that stuff has digestive enzymes. It has broken itself down. And it can move through very easily. And it can move up very easily. And across the transverse and down the descending. But you start putting some chicken and some ribs, all of the stuff that's supposed to taste great, it begins to get compacted. And then it has to be pushed up. Because it's working against gravity. And it has to be pushed up some more. And then it begins to look like this. See, that that ascending colon, this is this appendix, that ascending colon is scallop shaped. And then you have to go transverse, come across. And then you go descending colon. Well, from the intestines, when this food works its way all through here, when it gets to this muscle, all of the nutrients should have been absorbed by way of the bloodstream. You get little bitty hair particles. And these little hair particles are all up and down the intestinal tract. They're called villi, little bitty hair particles. And they suck up the nutrients after you eat it. And when they suck the nutrients up, these nutrients are carried by the bloodstream to different organs. So if they, depending on where they're sucked up into the bloodstream, is depending on what organ is going to get it first. This one, maybe it's sucked up here, and this vessel, this vein, this artery, is going to the thyroid. Maybe this one here is going to the ovaries. Maybe this one is going to the lungs. Maybe this one's going to the pancreas. Maybe this is going to the heart. But these nutrients are sucked in by way of the villi, and then they're carried to the bloodstream, to these target sites to be nourished. If it's not chewed up well, or if it's processed food, you ain't got nothing going on. That's why some people don't like getting up in the morning. Oh, another day, wow. You know. Well, how you feel? Hey, good morning. What's so good about it? I haven't had my coffee. Isn't that nonsense? You know, food is supposed to make you feel energetic, look well, feel good. When you're eating the right kind of food, you don't eat a little bit of it, and it should say, hey, man, I'm full. I'm nourished. Body parts are nourished. But when you eat processed food, guess what happens? The body says, not full. Not nourished. Got to eat some more. And you eat some more. Ain't nothing happening. Got to eat some more. And then you do this. You say, I'm going to go back one more time. And when you get that last meal, then you come back and you say, now I'm tired. See, processed food makes you eat more and get lazy. The real food, the food that God has given us, allows us to eat just enough to nourish body parts. And then we say, I want to go work out. Because the cells in the body has been fed. The body has been nourished. I went to my mother's church once, and everybody walked in with a cane. Young folks, old folks, it didn't make any difference. People are broke down today, and they're waiting on you. Because the most important thing that they have already purchased, you may not know. The biggest purchase they have probably already made. But you know, some people don't want to open up a book and read. What's the biggest purchase that they have made? Why ask you anything? Why not her? I live next door to my man. Why am I asking him? What makes you different than her? The only thing that makes anybody better than anybody else is your righteousness to God. And since we don't know how righteous we are, we can't go around making claims that we're better than anybody. But the thing that these people have already purchased, and they're just waiting on some of the people out here to get their game together, is that they have purchased your spirit. Don't you know that's the first thing that anybody will purchase is your spirit first? And then they begin to purchase your concepts. The idea, hey, I like her. I want to be like her. Spiritually, I want to really have my mind at peace like her. So people will purchase your spirit first. Then they come back. And they listen to you. Well, come on with it. What do you got? You can't be afraid to talk to a person. You can't be afraid to expound on what you have learned or what you know. And you don't have to sound eloquent. You don't have to have a use big words.